Hello, it's Ricardo and welcome back to Elite Dangerous. Now on Wednesday the 29th of July there was scheduled a patch that would have addressed several known issues that we're going to discuss in this video. At the last minute though, and I say that, Tuesday the 28th, Frontier issued an announcement that this patch was going to be delayed, and that was pending some other issues that had been found. Now, coming up to Wednesday the 29th of July, everyone was quite excited because there were problems with Tritium, there was problems with the game crashing on console, all those sort of things. And there's also been some tweaks to overlapping hotspots. But Frontier decided to delay that change and fix and tweak some additional items. Now, a lot of the original items are going to be discussed in this video. However, I thought I'd discuss the update that was issued as well prior to getting to that video. Okay, so they talk about overlapping hotspots and commodity distribution within those hotspots. And they also mentioned that with patch 3, they implemented a change that was primarily intended to bring down the effects of multiple overlapping hotspots. Now we've all seen this. This is low temperature diamonds and everybody else making huge money, making the bank and going out and buying fleet carriers. Now they say they were currently looking into the data from the live game to determine the actual impact it's having, and will review this based on projections, and if the data does not meet their expectations they'll be making changes accordingly. So perhaps they don't want so many fleet carriers in the game. It was always anticipated that you wouldn't have that many fleet carriers, and only a small percentage. As soon as they mentioned that though, the community went dashing out and mined, and then every man in his hound's got a fleet carrier. So Tritium, and one of the biggest points of feedback had been all the way across the forums and all the way across the community was the rarity of Tritium and how much of a negative impact that has been. Of course, if you consider there wasn't meant to be many fleet carriers, then that might have been okay. But as, like I say, they're like lampposts, they're absolutely everywhere. They're going to address the rarity of Tritium. They say, we'd like to make it clear that any negative impact on locating and mining Tritium is unintentional, and the intention is for Tritium to remain as accessible as it was prior to patch 3. There are lots of stranded fleet carriers out there as well, to a point where Frontier is depositing stores of Tritium in people's fleet carrier stores. Also, they say limited purchasing on fleet carriers. Fleet carrier purchase orders are now limited to a maximum of 2 billion credits. And that was omitted from the original patch notes. And for our console players on the PlayStation and Xbox, a small update will take place, they say, for Xbox and PlayStation players for Elite Dangerous, and this update won't contain any changes, but it does lay the groundwork for future bug fixes. What exactly those bug fixes are, we don't know. So I tell you what we'll do, and we're going to take a look at the original patch notes that should have been issued on Wednesday the 29th of July with that patch. Let's see what they fix. The new fleet carrier patch. Yes folks, another fleet carrier patch. Fleet carrier patch 4. 4 patches after 2 betas as well. Has to be said, they are making an awful lot of effort to get this right. So Frontier have actually addressed a number of issues. They've addressed mining, crashes and stability, and actual fleet carriers. So let's take a look at fleet carriers first. So let's get straight in with it then with what's happened within fleet carriers. All that aside, what have they fixed? They've fixed an issue which stopped fighters being restocked from a fleet carrier. Well, I suppose you'd really notice that if you were doing that fighter hack that they fixed back in patch 3. They've also fixed a number of issues related to fleet carrier positioning, and that's all around the fact that there's a better enforcement of the 16 carrier limit around an astral body. Now this is something I've had some experience with myself. My kids play this on Xbox and on PlayStation. I play on PC and then sometimes get on the consoles. But when going at the triple mining hotspots that I've been frequenting lately, like we all have to get that money, you can see that, you know, there was some issues there. Isn't it? More than 16 fleet carriers around that astral body, isn't it? Just check it out. And it was causing some problems for PS4 and Xbox users where it was locking them out the system and the game was crashing. So that's a good thing that Frontier have addressed that. Let's go on now to crashes and stability. They've fixed an issue where loading into an instance in a system with a large amount of fleet carriers, as I've just mentioned, would cause very long load times, potentially long enough to cause a disconnect. And that was mostly on the Xbox and PlayStation, has to be said. So that's been addressed. Good on you. So where would a patch be without an adjustment to mining? Yes, we've been fleecing the mining. It should be called elite dangerous mining, other than anything else. They've fixed an issue whereby subsurface deposits created after cracking a mother lode would flag themselves as depleted, and they've fixed issues related to diminishing returns for commodities in overlapping hotspots. Well, hey, there you have it. A little bit of adjustment on mining there. Yes, very good. You add that to the adjustments that they did in the previous patch, on patch 3, where they fixed the issue which allowed launching a fighter to restore subsurface deposits on asteroids. And, you know, there has been a bit of a mining adjustment. They've also looked at a bug with material distribution in overlapping hotspots, and that's been fixed, so they're not as lucrative as what they used to be. That brings us over to known issues. Yes, so fleet carriers. When opening the fleet carrier naming pop-up in the livery, an additional unwanted character will be added to the start and the end of the game. There you go. And they also mention that this brings a number of other bug fixes and known issues into fruition as well. So, going on to what was happening in patch 3 as opposed to patch 4, I mean, they fixed issues there with fleet carriers where a bug preventing transactions in a fleet carrier's market when the transaction amount was greater than the fleet carrier. What the hell is that? Right, you just can't make loads of credits by subverting the marketplace on fleet carriers. You know, mining was the big one of the last patch. This one seems to be, you know, stability around the instances of fleet carriers around the bodies. No mention about the availability of tritium, unless that's going to be adjusted, and they haven't actually mentioned it. Because some carriers, you know, are left stranded, other carriers are not. You know, what can you do there? I mean, you're going to be left flying back and forth from some stations to get tritium. That's going to force the cost of tritium up through the roof, and you know what you're going to do then. So that, in a nutshell, was the patch notes for Fleet Carriers Patch 4 on Elite Dangerous. Upgrade has happened, it's going to be live now, all good stuff. Hey, let's see what other problems we can find in the game, and then hopefully pester Frontier to fix. I've been Ricardo, this has been an update on the Fleet Carriers patching. Fly safe, be safe out in the real world, never mind the virtual one, and I'll see you soon. Thanks for watching, and like and subscribe.